quick quiz, what's this? And don't say it's 2 pallets joined together making part of my compost base, because it's not that. All right, yes it is that, but what else has it been used for? Have you got it? Remember about 12 months ago, this used to be a fantastic grow wall, but sadly, it's been all neglected. And that's what this video is about. What happened to this fantastic grow wall? Let's get into it. Yes, it does look pretty bad, doesn't it? Considering what it did look like and how much food we were producing on this wall. But why is it now in such a dilapidated state? Well, the simple reason is, if you remember back then, I was doing a series on growing food in small spaces. I was working with a bunch of uni students. They were doing their final assessment for their degree in film, and this project was one of the videos that we featured in the 5-part series. And what I really wanted to do with that series is bring in more people who might have thought this is unachievable, a large acreage or semi-large acreage, 3 acres with plenty of room to grow fruit and veggies on. That's not for me, but I'd still love to grow fruit and veg. I've only got a small area. Can you grow anything in that? And I wanted to say, yes, you can. And so we started these types of projects. And in this particular example, this is a simple grow wall made really easily out of a couple of recycled pallets. These are the ones that have been heat treated and pressed without chemicals so that it's safer for food. But really you can use any type of vertical gardening technique to get the same effect. This just happened to work well for us because I already had this structure in place. To be honest, why have I let it go to the dogs? Well, I don't really need it. Like I said, we have an acreage and plenty of veggie growing space, and this grow wall wasn't something that I needed to continue. In fact, I don't want to keep it going too much longer because I really want to refurb this area here and refurb our compost bays and start getting them pumping again and growing compost, not necessarily food. But in a really small backyard, if you had this compost bay system, you could still use all this space for growing veggies on. So you could sort of double it up if you like. And that'd be quite a way to go. And the other reason is I just couldn't keep the water up to it. These grow walls, they dry out really fast. It's a vertical surface and we're in a really hot climate. The sun hits this side and it just permeates through it. And unless you're keeping the water up to it almost daily, these plants tend to dry out. Now, a way you can solve this though, having said that, which is something I could demonstrate, and I might in the future, maybe not here, but in other areas, because I still do intend to keep making these smaller projects and these examples of how to grow in small spaces. I didn't just make the one series and forget about it. I intend to make up mock small garden spaces. This is what I want to do. I want to inspire more and more people from the city, smaller properties, inner city, suburbs, to grow more food, no matter how small they think their area is. But anyway, back to this example, what I could have done was put some 13mm piping along here and rigged up a small watering system to come on and off maybe twice a day, a drip system from the top that drips all its way down, and that'd be all that's needed to keep this going. So if you were thinking of doing this in a warmer climate, that's still fine. I would just make sure you hooked up a watering system to it. But another thing I wanted to show you was what you might not be able to see from back there is what is still actually growing here. And it's quite remarkable. In this dry old bed that I haven't watered at all, it's just got rainfall, we've still got some basil here. It's just about on its way out, it's starting to flower, but this is an Italian basil and it's a really compact bush. It's different to the thicker leaf basil. And I love it, and I'm going to make sure that I replant this somewhere else in the garden and let it go to seed so I can harvest the seeds off it. I don't think this plant is going to produce much more leaves. You're not going to get a pesto or anything out of it or use it in cooking too much, but I will grow it in the future. And right here is a beautiful loose leaf lettuce that's growing, and I'm going to take that out and transplant it as well. And around the front, you can see here we've got some chives. I mean, I just don't know how they've just kept alive, but they look pretty good. And of course, look at this curly leaf parsley. It is just out of control. It's growing really well there. So I actually might leave that there for now, and we'll just keep using it until those plants naturally die off or go into flower, and then we'll harvest the seed and then probably leave them go. But I was going to just end it here and say bye-bye to this experiment, but I've got some old pea seeds, and I've also got some here in this container, some old seed raising mix. It's still nice and damp, and I'll just show you it here. This old seed raising mix, I've had it for a couple of months now, and it's time to use it up. I mean, yes, I could keep it going and keep it in that container. That's where I store it. But, you know, the mix is all right. I could have done a better job with the mix, to be honest. But anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just use it up, and then I'm going to make some more. And what's in this seed raising mix is pretty simple. It's just some coconut core, soaks up the water nice and good and holds lots of water, some vermiculite and some perlite. That's all. I want to use it up, so I'm going to stack the top of this with this seed raising mix, because it's a really nice water holding mix, and I won't have to water this too often. And because we're also now in winter, we don't get as harsh a sun as you do in summer. So I reckon I can use this wall one last time, and I want to also have a go at using up those seeds. These pea seeds here, they're a few years old, and I reckon some of them might germinate. If none do, well, so be it, but I'm going to give it a go. There's no use trying to plant them out in the regular garden or trying to keep them for longer. They really need to be used. And because it's winter, it's pea season, and I reckon if I can get some germinate and flop over the side, I can get one last use out of the bed and use up this old seed, use up this old seed raising mix, and still have something to eat and show you guys. So that's what I'll do. Let's transplant these fellas first. Get rid of this old tomato spike. I just had a determinate tomato on there, and I'll fill that up and we'll plant the seeds and see how we go. Dig him right down. There we go. When I'm transplanting this, what I'll do is I'll take some of those leaves off, and that way it won't suck up as much energy. We'll stick him in the garden here right next to this one. Nice and deep. Whack him in there. Cover him over and water him in. So a good bit of water, maybe a bit of seaweed solution to get that off to a good start, but that'll grow quite well with alongside those other lettuces. I'll dig that out. Get some of, as much of the root ball as possible, and as much of the taproot as possible. Just pull him straight up. Yep, that's nice. I think right behind these bok choys that have gone to seed. Right here will be nice. Nice spot for him. Perfect. I'll water this in well so that the roots settle and it gets a good start, and then we'll be able to harvest those seeds and maybe even some leaves if it grows well. Alright, that's them transplanted, so now let's whack in this extra thing. Now I might just put a bit of fill in here, press it down a little because it has dropped a lot, but I don't want to waste any good soil or anything like that, or potting mix. So what I might do is just put a bag of fairly cheap type mix in here, then I'll put the other mix on top. This stuff will do. This is only about $4 a bag. And that'll just bump it up nicely. Rightio, perfect. Now I'll put this core mix, this coconut core mix in here on top. A little bit more here on this side. All right, now I've got the pea seeds and I'll go spreading them like crazy. Every last one of them. And if I get 10% of these germinate, I'll be a happy man. Push these down a little and then I'll put some more of this mix to cover them over. That'll save me pushing them all under the soil individually. I'll just cover them all over. Making sure all the seeds are under. Pat them down. Perfect. Let's see how that goes. I reckon if some of them germinate, it's going to be a great end to this grow wall project. Well, it's getting a little late. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give it a big dirty thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. That's what happened to our grow wall. Hopefully we can get a little bit more grow out of this wall, and I can show you the results later. If not, well, we're going to turn it into or back into the compost bays that it originally was, and I'll be doing more small spaces gardening ideas besides this in later videos. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye for now.